Hey, chat. I, for those who don't know, 5 years ago, I started a podcast. I took a shot in the dark and started a podcast. And 5 years later, I thought, I know a little bit more about that stuff. Why not try it again? Ironically enough, the man that is with me today was the same person that was the guest on the first episode of the podcast 5 years ago. And that is the man from Hypothetical Comedy, the man from Pro Wrestling Nation, Funky Sam Medina.
Yo, yo, yo. I did not know I was your first guest 5 years ago. That's cool.
Yeah. I
Hell
did
yeah.
not. I did not do that on purpose.
Repeating history, repeating history.
No, I did not do that on purpose. And the difference is this time I don't have a format. I'm not looking at a format.
The Wrestling Express version of Vince McMahon.
Yeah. No, I just got bullet points. um, but yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, that's the thing. It's crazy that we've known each other for almost 7 years.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
The internet's a crazy thing, man.
the internet is a crazy
Especially
thing.
the last year and a half.
You ain't kidding. I mean, that pesky pandemic
Yeah.
party pooped a lot of people's plans. Um, like, well, I mean, speaking of the last 7 years, I mean, you've been in and out of the podcast game, and I didn't think I would come back to podcasting, but I figured why not see what happens.
Yeah,
But
I like podcasting. It's a lot of fun.
have you noticed, like, because you took a hiatus from.
A few years, yeah. I stopped
Yeah,
doing for years and then I tried to get back in and I just wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't motivated. But then towards the end of the pandemic, when people didn't need me anymore, I started getting motivated again. So I'm not getting very many hits yet, but
yeah.
it's a start. It's a start.
Leisha, good to see you.
Yeah. Welcome to the chat.
Swag, Blaze, good to see y'all.
Blaze one up.
It's okay. It's legal in California. um, but yeah, have you noticed anything that like from the hiatus that you took from podcasting? Have you noticed anything that changed in that from that hiatus to when you came back?
I mean, the biggest change is the way that I used to record the podcast versus how I do it now. Because I used to have to get the person on Skype, and then I used to have to I purchased a Skype recorder, and I would have to like get the Skype set up, sync the Skype recorder with it, and do all these different things. And it was so complicated. And now, I mean, you could just hop on Zoom, press record, talk for an hour, and you're done. And
Yeah.
Zoom will just give you the file. So to me, that is one thing that makes it a lot easier to podcast and a lot more
Right.
fun because uh, I guess we could have saw each other face to face on Skype, but I never did.
Right.
So I am doing it now, and so it's cool. It's fun.
Right. 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 And I know you became a big supporter of, or I mean, I guess it would be a big supporter of Zoom during the
Yeah,
pandemic
I mean,
because I saw
I pay
you.
them every month, so they're paying their
Right.
child support with my money. So
Yeah. Long time no see, Leash, but always good to see you. Good to see you too, Swag and Blaze.
hell yeah,
I hope everybody's doing well.
it's not Jack swag, is it?
For those who are just joining us, this is my good friend Sam Medina.
Whoop whoop, hell yeah.
We're just talking about how podcasting has changed, and I guess the best way to put it is how Zoom has improved the podcasting game. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it has. Zoom is super cool, and I used it a lot over the pandemic, and I'm a huge supporter. Like you said, I pay them every month, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I keep food on their table. Damn it.
I mean, I haven't used Zoom nearly as much as you do, but I think Zoom is 100 times more convenient than having to get the people on Skype.
And a lot of people like older wrestlers or even just other people like didn't have Skype and or
Right,
didn't know how to use Skype. And
right,
Zoom is really easy. You don't have to have Zoom. I just send you a link and you click on it and there we are. So I think that's a lot easier too. It'll help navigate the older, less savvy tech folks.
yeah. I mean, I just made my name today on Zoom.
Oh, you picked a great name too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I probably should have made my name Wrestling Express, but that's beside the point. I appreciate the positive vibes, Panda. And just to clarify for you, chat, that if you guys have any questions throughout the stream that you want answered, or if you have any curiosities that you would like to know, feel free to pose the question in the chat, and I will pose the question to Sam. Or if you want to pose the question to me, and me and Sam will discuss it, I'm more than happy to do that too.
My social media.
Yeah, that's Sam's socials. He's got
Uh,
everything Sam has is right there on his socials.
One thing I did learn a lot was graphic design. Like this isn't like the best, artwork, but this is like the first thing I designed, and I've been doing a lot of graphic design over the pandemic.
Also, chat, I just wanted to say that I linked Sam's comedy page as a command in the chat. So if you guys want to go check out his comedy page, it's exclamation point comedy down in the chat,
Oh, nice. That's cool.
and then
What's
you
his
can go
name?
follow the link.
I don't. I'm not that twitchy. I don't know Twitch that much. I probably couldn't do that on Twitch. That's cool though.
Well, because Panda, you're just a fun panda. Um,
As opposed to a
yes,
scary.
as opposed to a scary panda or a boring panda or um. But yeah, it's also the fact that I feel like there's not as much problems as you would have to deal with on Skype because I remember all the issues, especially with audio. Speak to that a little bit. Do you see that maybe that there's not as much like issues dealing with
Oh
Zoom as
yeah.
you
I
would?
mean, well, I started podcasting in 2013, and so here we are. Wait, 8 years later. Um, the audio is a lot better. Like on Zoom, the Zoom audio is great. On Skype, it's hit or miss a lot. And then a lot of people, like I had a Skype, what's it called? Phone, like a phone number that I paid for, like monthly or whatever, yearly, and that was really bad quality because it was just a phone number. So like, if those older wrestlers, whatever, didn't know how to do Skype, I'd just be like, call this phone number, and they could just call in and I could just answer it and we just talk like it's a phone call.
Right, and
But
I
this is a lot better because
oh
you can
yeah,
call this as well. You can call into Zoom as well.
oh yeah, and it's like you said, all you have to do is just send them the link because I before I stopped, um, with the podcast and the interviewing wrestlers because I used to do the same
Right.
as you did. I had one guy say that he barely knew how to use Skype
Yeah.
because he only knew about it because of his kids.
Oh, interesting.
But I
Makes sense.
know when I used to do interviews with James Beard, we would use the Facebook
Oh,
call,
wow.
because I was like, do you just not want to leave? Do you just not want to leave Facebook, or do you just want to do it over Facebook? But I remember having similar issues with um, Skype and Facebook because of the audio.
Yeah.
Because I know when I interviewed Savio Vega years ago, I don't remember if it was Skype or Facebook, but it was like somebody complimented the detail of the interview and the quality of the interview, but the audio of the interview was what was a little bit of a problem. Because I think he was doing the interview from the phone in his car.
Oh, yeah. That never sounds good.
Yeah.
He was driving around Puerto Rico.
No, he was legit sitting in his car on his webcam, and he had his webcam turned on. Because I did an interview with James Beard over the phone, and it wasn't that bad. Hell, one of the interviews I did was the
Oh,
guy.
Savio's in Puerto Rico, isn't he? So maybe
Yeah,
it was
Savio's in Puerto Rico. Yeah,
the ocean got in the way. It made it buffer.
yeah. I mean, I did an interview with a guy. He was at his kid's baseball game. Yeah,
One of my favorite interviews I did was with Mickey Knuckles. You know her?
yeah, I know her.
She was sitting in her car before she went in to go get ready for a show. Like she was outside the venue in her car, and I interviewed her. It was really fun though. It was a really good interview. I really enjoyed it.
I'm looking
Uh,
forward to the opportunity to maybe interview Kip Stevens again because Kip Stevens, I don't know if you know, I think he's more of a northeastern independent wrestler, but
I don't even know the name actually.
I know in the past
I want to say, do you mean Kip Sabian? But no,
I know in the
that's.
past I've had the pleasure to interview Pinky Sanchez.
Oh, I would have talked to Pinky Sanchez. I just found out that Pinky Sanchez was one of the ants. I went on this deep dive to discover who all the ants' identities were.
Mm.
Tracy Williams was an ant. So is Drew Gulak. But you want your mind blown? Do you know who the main ant was? Fire ant. Do you know who that was?
Not a clue.
Orange Cassidy.
I didn't know. What was it? Did he hold that role for the entire time, or
I think so. I don't know. I just know that he was Fire ant. I don't know if somebody else was it before him, but yeah,
because
was the whole time. I'm not sure though.
I know that Chikara is. I didn't realize Orange Cassidy had been around that long.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently,
No,
we didn't know him as Orange Cassidy yet.
I mean I wonder if he's one of the people that were trained by Mike Quackenbush then.
That's possible.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? What do we
My
classify as a
goodness,
sandwich? Is it just
a
something
hot
between
dog
two
is a
pieces?
category of its own. The hot dog, you guys. Now, is a burrito a sandwich? That's what I want to know. And yes, pineapple goes on whatever you want it to go on. Just saying.
well, it's interesting. You know, it is interesting that you bring up your the. I mean, that's a good segue into our because do you now with the podcast coming back, are you still going to interview wrestlers, or are you just more focused on mixing your own opinion with and
Oh my
then
gosh,
doing the comedy?
I I'm trying. I'm not. So right now I'm having computer problems. I was getting Pro Wrestling Nation back off the ground. I did like 11 episodes or something, but the
Mm-hmm.
last one I just it kept restarting when I was exporting the file and it kept corrupting the file and I had to keep starting all over and
Right,
it just got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do any more podcasts until I get my computer fixed,
right,
which hopefully will happen today.
right,
Um, I'm doing a podcast network. I have 7 podcasts, and they're all going to be different. I have the flagship show, which is going to be Hypothetical Comedy, which is me and my wife
mm-hmm.
talking to comedians. And then I have Pro Wrestling Nation, which is the old school me talking to wrestling fans, comedians that are wrestling fans, wrestlers, managers, website people, journalists,
Right,
whatever, wrestling people, wrestling
right, right, right,
personalities.
right, right.
Um, movie podcast where my wife and I talk about movies. I have one called Hey It's Me Paul with my friend Paul Kilmer, who's a magician, and Paul is so funny. He can just tell the most amazing stories, and so I'm like, we need a podcast with you. So it's called Hey It's Me Paul, and it's me and Paul, and I'm trying to be like Conrad, just like hey, tell some cool shit, and so that's really fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then I have one called the Chino Berto and Sam Show with my friends Chino De Leon and cousin Berto, and we just kind of talk about whatever we want in that one.
Right, right, right.
I'm just trying to hit it from all bases. I'm just trying to have fun, and I know that there's probably more than I can handle, and I'm probably like taking a bigger bite than I can chew, but you
Right,
know it happens.
right. You want to go all out before instead of you know
Yeah, I want to go all out before I go all in.
um so you are going to anticipate getting back into interviewing wrestlers
Yeah.
when the opportunity presents itself.
So the most recent interview podcast that I had put up about 2 weeks ago. I'm really proud of it. It's a really good one. It's with Cal Grizzly Cal Jack, who is a former um, Cal Bishop in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool, man. I didn't even
Yeah.
think we'd talk about Dusty, but he was there for the Dusty era. He was there kind of when NXT was finding its footing, when they were like, um, they were going in from being the game show to like kind of being a serious wrestling product. He was
Right.
there for that. He was there when Big E was champion, so that's kind of when that.
I vaguely remember the name Cal Bishop.
Yeah.
but I vaguely remember random people's names.
He's a cool dude, and he wrestles a lot in my area.
Hmm.
So it's cool to kind of touch base with him and like meet him online, whatever. And then hopefully I can go, do some stuff with him in person or whatever someday.
Well, as you would probably expect, Panda asked, since you mentioned your movie podcast, your opinion on the Kung Fu Panda trilogy.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I don't have an opinion on it because I've never seen it.
Well,
But
I'm going to be doing a watch along on the Discord for Kung Fu Panda 2.
nice. Kung Fu Panda movies, honey. What do you think of them? Oh, my wife loves them a lot.
Well, how about Jack Black as an actor?
Jack Black. Jack Black will play me in the biopic. About 10 years ago, maybe even more, a bunch of coworkers were like, "That's what we were talking about. Who would play you in a biopic?" And I picked Jack Black for me. He's a good.
Yeah. Um. Uh. Yeah. Since you did mention the your local area, I think it would be first to mention. Did Are you a fan of the Dark Side of the Ring series?
Yes.
Did you see the XPW one last week?
Oh no, I haven't yet. I have not seen that one yet.
Just to get your opinion, since I'm sure you grew up in the area,
I
and,
am familiar with XPW. Very familiar with XPW.
your opinion on
Although,
XPW.
although I have to give a disclaimer. I'm in Northern California, and XPW
Right,
was in Southern California, and so that's like being in like in the New England area, which I think you are in. It's like being in 4 states away.
right.
So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But go on, go on.
Well, I was just, asking if you, since it's topical, if you had an opinion on XPW, or if you remember anything you heard, since you've, spoke a lot with wrestlers that were local, with All Pro Wrestling, and some I'm sure that worked with PWG, and if there was any, especially with the Messiah and the stuff that happened with him from that company,
There
if you had
was
any opinion on
there
XPW.
was one local wrestler who I interviewed years ago, and he was in XPW, which surprised me. I didn't realize, but I'm not going to say his name because he's dead to me. But no, so XPW, I'm really you when it was so I was my best friend and I that watched wrestling together. We were really big fans of ECW,
Mm-hmm.
and when ECW closed down, I guess before they closed down, XPW was around. They even did like a big
Correct.
WXPW like confrontation in LA,
Mm-hmm.
which is super cool, super cool. And I feel like when ECW closed, a lot of the misfits, quote unquote misfits, like Chris Candido and Shane Douglas and Vampiro, like the guys that WWE wouldn't take, right?
Right.
And WCW was closed. They kind of all went to XPW, along with Rob Black. Um, he seems like a cool dude. I listened to his podcast a little bit. I don't know if he was into illegal stuff, illegal pornography, or whatever he was doing that ended up getting him taken down in the first place. He was doing something bad, as far as I know. I don't really know what it was, but
Just
I
as
was a
this.
fan of XPW. I used to buy their VHS tapes in the mall
Yeah.
in the early 2000s, like 2002, 2003, and stuff like that. And I want to see the episode about XPW. I really do, but I'm also kind of interested and kind of excited that they're coming back. Did you know they're coming back?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they're coming back in November. It's called XPW The Rebirth, and it's going to be available on Fight TV. And so I kind of want to get it, but I'm kind of broke, so I probably won't. But I'm super excited about them coming back and just giving XPW a second go. And it's going to be Rob Black. Rob Black is the one who's been running it, and yeah. So
And just as a disclaimer, Chad, if you want any clarity on the episode, I highly suggest watching it, because I've
you
never
should
been
watch it.
disappointed by anything produced by Jason Eisner and Evan Husney, the guys
New
behind Dark
Jack
Side
was
of the Ring.
there. Vic Grimes was there. There's a big scaffold thing that happened between them. Like you
Yeah,
should
if you
watch.
want to hear the story, especially because it is actually New Jack's last ever interview that he ever gave.
Was he in the episode?
Yeah, he was in the episode.
Oh, that's cool.
It's the last one he ever
And let
gave.
me guess. Let me guess. He says, and I quote, Yeah, I tried to kill him. No,
He said he wanted to.
I know. I've heard that a million times in different
Yeah,
places. I've heard him say it. I've heard it out of his mouth. But yeah, go watch the XPW episode. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. That's cool.
because I know the season finale for Darkseid this year is coming this week with the steroid trial.
Oh, interesting.
And the legend himself, Jerry McDivitt, is actually going to be a part of the episode.
Wow. Wow.
So that's going to be interesting actually seeing Jerry McDivitt because apparently Evan and Jason actually called Jerry himself and said they wanted to get the story from his perspective.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That'd be really interesting.
Because it was the steroid trial that actually started Jerry McDivitt's tenure with WWE. That's the first
And
time they called him.
is he still currently with them?
Yeah, he's there. He's
And
still
he's
their lawyer.
talking at Dark Side of the Ring, and he's with them still.
Yeah. Well, because he's a third party. He's a third party. He doesn't work for
He doesn't work
WWE.
for them, right?
He
That's true.
he's a third party law. He works for a third party law firm.
That makes sense. Yeah, and they just kind of contract him out as needed.
Right. Exactly. Um. But I mean, that's also the thing. It's like I mean, you mentioned how ECW went out of it. When ECW went out of business, and that XPW cropped up. XPW was taking over that aspect of the deathmatch wrestling. But it's also that California's always has a rich history of wrestling in California. Like,
Yeah,
um, I'm not gonna go back to the LaBelles and
Pat
Roy
Patterson in
Shire.
San Francisco.
Yeah, Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens in San Francisco being.
APW baby. Yeah, shout out to APW. They're local. They're San Francisco based.
I mean, but that's the type of thing. Like APW, it's I think what like 97, 96, something like that they started, and they're still going strong.
Dude, they started like '92. They got their
Uh,
notoriety. They got their notoriety in like '97.
Cause from what I remember, Roland passed away, right?
Yeah, Roland passed away like maybe 10 years ago. Maybe no, maybe less than that. Like he probably like 15, probably 2015.
Right.
That's just a guess. That's just a guess. And then Marcus Mack's been running it ever since. And I haven't been to any shows since Roland's passed away. I've only been kind of following online, but it
Mm-hmm.
feels like they've kind of because okay, so Roland's super old school, right?
Right.
And like Marcus Mack's like younger and has like more of a young like with kind of with the times. So I feel like they've kind of gone a little bit beyond what they were, and they've stepped up a little bit more. Just like they're fresh. They have a fresh look. They have fresh talent, and everything's a lot fresher.
Right.
And that's not a knock on anybody. That's just a different perspective.
Right. Um. Well, putting a pin in that for a second and just jumping back to Dark Side, with the likelihood with that being the highest rated series on Vice TV. Number one, are you surprised that it's the highest rated series on Vice? And number two, if you could pick anything that if you can send a tweet to Jason and Evan about what you would want to see in season four, is there something specific that you would like to see them cover in season four?
Man, there was. I thought of it recently. So I'm not surprised if that's the highest rated show on Vice because wrestling fans flock, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling fans are have no shame and they flock. You know, like WrestleMania weekend. Look at WrestleMania weekend, right?
Right, 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 right.
Not last year,
Yeah,
not this year, not this year. But you know what I mean? Like this wrestling fans will just flock. They come from all over the world. There's millions of them. There's thousands of them,
right,
and they're just loud and they're like they um. I feel like wrestling fans have been such like we've been teased and stuff, and we grew up in this era where you don't tell people you're a wrestling fan, and wrestling fans become the kind of the loud minority.
right,
So in a way, as far as something that I wish I could see, I mean, they've done Brawl for All, they've done Owen Hart, they've done Chris Benoit, they've done. I guess they're gonna do the steroid trial. That's pretty crazy. Um, they've done the Warrior. Like, what else could they do that they
I
possibly
mean,
do? I guess they could do a Randy Savage episode, and we can see like
true.
they talk about why he left the WWF and why Vince, he was dead to Vince and for all those years, and why him and Hulk Hogan had that beef. Like I guess we can find that out, but we kind of already think we know.
Well, yeah,
Um,
Lanny has talked about it since Randy passed. Lanny has talked about it since Randy passed away.
they could do a Vince Russo episode. I guess that's kind of what Brawl for All was, though.
Right. I mean, I know Jason or Evan mentioned doing ECW because they like doing the profiles of promotions. So, I mean,
You guys said
I
ECW,
don't know
so.
how much footage they would be able to use, considering
Right.
most of
But
ECW's
they could
footage.
talk to Rob Feinstein. I don't think anyone's talked to him or a video, and they have a ton of ECW fan cam footage.
True,
And I'm sure they could license that for a lot cheaper.
true. Um, you
They could
know,
even do like something on like the speaking out thing that happened last year.
true.
Go dive into that. That's really a dark side of the ring.
I mean, I know I mentioned because I actually tweeted to them some episodes I would like to see. I know I tweeted to them that I would like to see Eddie Gilbert, a profile on Eddie Gilbert.
Okay.
Um, the July 4th, because July 4th has a lot of negative attached to wrestling. July 4th is when Adrian
Really?
Adonis passed away in a
Oh
car
wow.
accident.
The USS Intrepid.
You know, the car accident.
Rock slam Yoko on July 4th. It's the greatest night in the history of our business.
Also, the car accident with Joey Morella, and the I think that was a I think the one that killed Adrian also killed a bunch of a couple other
What
guys up in
about
Canada.
the plane crash that Ric Flair was involved in that Johnny Valentine died in?
Johnny Valentine got crippled. He didn't die.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry, Johnny. Are you listening? Sorry, Johnny.
The one before that,
King
with
guy died. Oh, who was the original King that gave it to Jerry Lawler? He died in that plane crash.
no, no, nobody. The pilot died. The pilot died in the plane crash. All the wrestlers lived.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different plane crash then.
The first plane crash in Florida with Gary Hart and and his family. You know, not his family, his faction with Bobby Shane and
Bobby Shane. That's what I was trying to think of. Bobby Shane.
Bobby
He was
Shane and other people. The other names are escaping me, but it was it was actually all of Gary Hart's faction that was in that plane crash.
wow. That's
Oh,
crazy.
Paul Ellering. I think it was Paul Ellering. Oh, it was Paul Ellering, Austin Idol, Bobby Shane, and Gary Hart.
They could do like a profile on, like next generation kids, like Joe Henning, right? Because he never really, I mean, he didn't
I
really
mean,
do much.
yeah, and like
Bo Dallas, people that like Ricky Steamboat
the
Jr. or even
the pressure
Awful.
that
Yeah,
second generation kids feel being in their kids' shadows.
yeah, Ted
I mean,
DiBiase
their
Jr.
dad's shadows.
They can call it Junior. Don't say it around Vince.
um, I mean, that's the thing. It's like you look around and you wonder what they could do, and it's just like there's plenty of dark side to wrestling. It's just, I mean, I guess like the Johnny Canine episode proves that they're not afraid to do anything, even though the Johnny Canine episode was requested by Jim Cornette.
I haven't seen that. Is it good?
It's interesting because I didn't know a lot about Bruiser Bedlam before the
I don't.
episode. I've heard the name because I'm an avid supporter of Jim Cornette, and he's talked about him because he employed Bruiser Bedlam in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. But as far as like, well, and also when the trailer shows he blew up a police station, it's kind of hard not to have that pique your interest.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I really like the Dino Bravo one
Yeah.
because I didn't know anything about Dino Bravo other than he was that blonde guy in WWF when I was a kid. You know,
Well, that's the thing. I
the
mean,
strongest man.
I watched a Rick Martel shoot, and Rick Martel actually tried to get Dino Bravo back into the WWE. Probably right, like maybe when his model phase was wearing thin. So maybe like the early '90s,
Okay, like
like 91, 92, give or take. He tried to get him in, and he would have Martel. Him and Dino would be a tag team,
okay, that would have been cool.
where he would take the heat, Dino would get the hot tag and do all the rough stuff, but they denied the request. They said
Wow,
Dino's past his prime and he doesn't need to be here anymore.
and that would have saved his life likely.
Pretty much, yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. But it's little nuggets like that that you look to, Dark Side to tell the story of. I mean, I would love to see the story of ECW because you want to see what they say. I mean, as long as Tommy Dreamer doesn't
Yeah,
put his foot in his mouth again.
it's hard though. It would be hard to do that because WWE owns it.
Right,
Like I would love to see a WCW, the rise and fall of WCW kind of thing.
right. I mean,
Yeah,
but that's also the thing. You'd be able to more likely do a rise and fall of WCW because Eric Bischoff is free than
but you can't use the logos. You can't. Can you even say World Championship Wrestling on a documentary without getting permission from whatever?
I mean,
You know, so there's a lot of gray area there
yeah.
legal. So I don't think they would touch either company.
Well, but I'm saying at least Bischoff is free, but you can't really do a profile on ECW without Paul Heyman.
That's true, and Heyman's tied up.
Yeah. So that's where I would
You know what
say
though? I feel like Heyman has enough freedom that he probably could do it.
probably.
He probably could do it
Hey,
if he really.
domestic, good to see you, buddy.
But then Heyman, he has a reputation of not liking to talk about the past and wanting to just kind of
Yeah.
talk about the future and look forward and stuff like that. So he does kind of have that reputation. So I can see him passing on it just for the sake of passing on it.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like, if they did a profile on Eddie Gilbert, I would kind of like to see Paul Heyman in it because I've done a lot of research on Eddie Gilbert and I know Paul Heyman was like his protege. Because
Yeah,
Paul
yeah,
Heyman was
Eddie
down in
Gilbert.
Continental. He was down in Continental, and he was learning. That was pretty much one of his first jobs outside of Memphis. Which, if you haven't seen Paul Heyman talk about his promos in Memphis, it, it's hilarious.
They start off with him saying, "Ladies and gentlemen."
No, it's him being as edgy as he is.
My name is Paul Heyman, and my client. Uh,
Sam, is there a way I could put the cameras side by side?
I don't know. I think if you stretch out your zoom, I think it will do that. Stretch
Uh,
out the zoom to the like, make it wider, make the zoom wider. Because mine just changed when I did it.
what do you? Because it's already.
Did your zoom full screen already?
Uh, oh, I
If
could
you
put it.
Yeah, if you make it wide, make the zoom screen, make that wide. This is the whole zoom window.
Yeah, it's taking up a gallery. Yeah, maybe gallery. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Good. Nice job, domestic.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, because mine's always in gallery view. Not always, but I guess it defaults.
Yeah. Oh, good on you too, boys, for knowing.
Blaze it up.
but but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that you would figure that. Yeah, I mean that's the tough part though, that you want all this stuff to happen, but there's people that are tied up and you don't know if they're available, you don't know if they're able to do it or willing to do it for that matter, if they want to talk about the past. Because I mean, I know Cornette would be interesting to hear about, even though I've heard his stories. Maybe just hearing what he would have had planned with Eddie Gilbert, because Eddie Gilbert was in Smoky Mountain.
I mean, I wouldn't even mind hearing a Smoky Mountain documentary, But I think I don't know if Cornette's canceled now or what's the deal with that.
Yeah, some weeks he is, some weeks he isn't.
Well, he made it. He got kicked off NWA, and honestly, I haven't really seen him work since.
Well, he's done with wrestling.
Well, yeah,
He
but
retired. He
the
retired
last
from
thing
the
that
business.
happened was he got kicked off NWA. It was a big controversial thing.
Yeah, he retired from the business. Pretty much. He's
Right,
just doing his
retired.
podcast.
Yeah, so maybe he did get canceled. Maybe nobody will sign him, like Joey Styles.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Joey Styles got himself canceled.
Well, good luck, domestic. Good luck on buying the car. Um, yeah, I mean, I, I, I mean, I think he just fell out of the business once he was not able to be an announcer anymore, because he did, he did, that's, he was, I mean, people call him, I mean, I love how people call Chris Close, the old XPW announcer, and I think he did WSX too, right?
I don't know.
Um,
I never watched it. I never watched WSX.
but I Joey was a person of the times, I would say.
He was. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Chris Kloss. He's back though. He's back in the new XPW. He's there.
What, Klaus and Larry Rivera again?
Yeah. Oh, they said they're all back. I stumbled upon an XPW group on Facebook, and Rob Black actually posting the group and everything, and he's talking about the return.
I wonder if it's still financed the way it was financed back in the day.
I would imagine not, but who knows? Who knows?
Well, because I will spoil
That's
part of
why
it.
he got taken down the first. Well, I need to watch the documentary. I need to watch um, he in fact Rob Black was promoting it, and it was good for him because it's airing the same week that they're relaunching the brand. So I
Right,
think he probably planned it that way,
right.
which is really cool. It's really cool. It's a good story, like for maybe even part two, like of XPW, like 3 years down the line for Dark Side of the Ring. Like when the
No.
first episode came out, they relaunched, and since then, whatever happened.
Yeah. But I
They're
mean,
gonna have a tournament for the world champion. Oh, and check this out. Sorry to interrupt
no,
you.
no, 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 no,
They
no.
have a tournament for the world champion. I forgot who's announced, but like they announced like most of the names. And my pick to be the first ever XPW champion is Brian Cage.
Well, at least his wife won't complain about him being a main eventer there. um,
No comment. She might be
so
listening.
I doubt it, but okay. um, but Northern California has that's that would be the Los Angeles that would be more Los Angeles, right, than San
No,
Francisco?
LA is Southern California. Northern California is more San Francisco.
Okay, okay.
San Francisco Bay Area. Boom.
Oh, so I'm sorry you had Roy Shire.
Yeah, no, Roy Shire. That's where we have. That's where Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens. That's where they came up.
Yeah, Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens, Roddy Piper.
No, Roddy Piper was Oregon. He was like way up there.
No, no, Roddy
He was
Piper
Don
started it.
Owen.
Roddy Piper started in California.
I thought he was Don Owens.
Buddy Rose brought him up to Don Owen.
Oh wow.
Buddy Rose brought him up to Don
Well,
Owen
he made
after.
his name though. He made his name though in Portland.
Fair, but he was also in feuds with the Guerreros
And the
Peter
Guerreros were
Maivia
more south. The
and
Guerreros
Peter
were like
Maivia in
Guerreros were
California.
like San Diego, Texas. Probably more Texas.
Um, but so that would mean that you were more was Lucha Underground in your backyard or was
No, Lucha Underground was in LA. That
I
was in LA.
I had no idea. I had
I'm more APW, BTW, where Bailey came from.
hmm
That's here. Um,
Was UPW local or was UPW
oh, no,
South?
that's SoCal too. A lot of wrestling is SoCal.
Hmm.
That's where LA and stuff is. Northern California. I mean, we're there's a lot of indies around here. There's a lot of indies
Yeah,
like
well that was the point I was making that there was a lot of
Sacramento has
indies
a
in
few
California.
indies. I can't think of anything right now. There's actually an indie company like in my general area. Like I could drive to it. Like
Hmm.
pretty close. I haven't gone yet just because the whole COVID stuff still, and I don't know how I feel about being in a room full of strangers like that.
Right.
Um,
You know, and I'm in this.
Whatever. But I'll go eventually.
I mean,
I'll
I'm the
go.
same way. There's a few locals here, but I'm not one for really local wrestling as much.
I do. I like it. I went to a concert, but it was an outdoor concert.
Right. Well, that's the difference.
Yeah, it's not 150 sweaty wrestling fans crawling through a
True.
building.
Well,
you know,
somebody in the chat posed
with
the
no
question.
windows.
Somebody in the chat posed the question. Your thoughts on the TBS title?
So I
Well, let's mesh it in together. Your thoughts on the TBS title and AEW moving to TBS in 2022?
yeah, that's crazy. That's so crazy. Is it a step down? It kind of is, right? Like TBS from TNT.
I mean,
I feel like it's a step.
if you think about it in a better way, TBS that means AEW would be one of a handful of original content for
There's
TBS.
not much original content on TBS.
Not
Because
anymore, no.
when I think of TNT, I think of like the NBA, Law and Order, like whatever. But when I think
Yeah,
of TBS, I think of like Friends reruns.
right.
And so I guess it's cool, but I feel like it's a step down. So the reason why they're doing this, from what I read, was because they didn't anticipate sports being on Wednesday nights, but they should have. They should have known. They should have thought ahead and been like, well, if we give you Wednesday,
Yeah,
what's going to happen when the COVID is over and blah 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 or whatever. Um, so I
yeah.
think it's kind of somebody made a big mistake somewhere.
Oh yeah, I
Somebody made
agree, Panda.
a
It's
calculation
hockey
somewhere.
and basketball. Yeah.
Uh, because they should have known that there was going to be hockey and basketball anyway, like to
Right.
begin with,
Right.
because that's not going anywhere. And I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's cool. It's there's on the network still. As far as the title goes, so it's kind of a silly title. It looks kind of silly. Um, I know why they did it, and it's cool that it's a. I'm happy that there's a women's title that doesn't have the word women's or knockouts in it, because like to me, like personally, like nobody like agrees with me, but I think wrestling, because they preach equality, right? Men
Hmm.
and women superstars, they're equality.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's never going to be equality when they have the world title and the women's title,
Right.
because if you have to put the word women in the title, then it's not equal to the men's title that doesn't have the word men's in it or something. I don't know what the solution to that is, but I'm happy that there's a title without the word women in it
Well,
for
I
the
mean,
women.
even in the NWA, they call the NWA World Women's Title, so
Right.
it's the
Yeah.
world
Even
title for the women's
AEW, they call
division.
it the women's world title, but it's still the women's world title. It's not the world title.
Well, it's like the cruiserweight title.
Yeah.
It's to differentiate the division.
The cruiserweight title is supposed to be a world title, but
Right.
I mean, it's definitely not.
Well, technically. But how
Mm.
about the fact that it's a secondary title for the women's division,
Yeah,
and it's not
that's
a tag team title?
I like that too. I do. I'm happy that they're gonna expand the division. And the tournament is shaping up to be really cool. I haven't seen the brackets yet because I think they just released them on Friday, so I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. But I'm excited about the tournament. To do. I love tournaments. Like Vince McMahon hates them, but I love them.
Yeah.
I think they're super fun. Like the Mae Young Classic was amazing. The Cruiserweight Classic was amazing, and I just realized they both have the word classic in them, which is weird. That's the
I
most fun.
actually haven't seen the tournament brackets yet either, but I'm gonna put my money. I don't know if somebody from the Dark Order is in that, which I
Well,
think would
Anna Jay's
be.
probably in it. I'm sure Anna Jay's in it.
Well, I would put my money on one of the women from the Dark Order because I know Tay Conti.
Is
No,
Tay Conti a member? I know she's a tag team with Anna Jay, but is she part of the Dark Order or is she just chilling with Anna Jay?
I think she's a part of it because she came out with Anna Jay when they did that big 10-man tag with
Okay.
Amanda
So she was
Huber.
ringside?
But I think I know Tay Conti's challenging Britt Baker at Full Gear,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I don't know if there's a expectation that um I don't know where that is as far as her being in the tournament. I doubt she's in the tournament if she's challenging for the world title.
Yeah, the
Um,
brackets just came out. I haven't seen them yet.
but
So yeah, we'll see. I think my money is on Ruby Soho being the first TBS champion, just based on the layout of the women's division.
well, actually, I can tell you in a sec because Panda just posted it in the Discord. So Anna J is in it,
Yeah.
but Anna J, yeah, Anna J's in it. Jamie Hayter, Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill, The Bunny, Red Velvet, Nyla Rose, Chris Statlander, Serena Deeb, Kuroshita, Penelope Ford. Well, Penelope Ford was out or was in it, but I think Ruby Soho may have taken the victory. But Statlander, Rose, Cargill, and Thunder Rosa got buys to the next round. So
Oh, they've already started the tournament.
probably it's probably based on where
Wait,
they rank in the rankings for the women's division.
is Ruby Soho in it or no?
Yeah, she's with Penelope Ford, but I know her and Penelope Ford just worked on Rampage or Dynamite this week,
Oh, okay.
but I didn't watch the match.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard for me to watch Dynamite on Saturdays.
Apparently, it's hard for everybody to watch Dynamite on Saturdays.
Oh, is it?
The ratings have not been that good.
Yeah. See, and they're just bumping them for sports, right? Is that what they're
Yeah,
doing?
I
It's really hard
think
for me to watch Dynamite on Saturdays.
I think either I'm gonna go with Anna Jay or Thunder Rosa, but I know they want to keep Thunder Rosa open for the next year. for a rematch with Britt Baker next year. So I don't know if they're
I
gonna
can
put the
see
belt
that.
on her or not.
Ruby's gonna win. Ruby's gonna win the tournament hands down. It'll
No,
probably come down to Ruby and Nyla Rose.
I hope it doesn't. Nyla Rose is as frustrating as not Nia Jax.
That's why their names are so close.
It's not that they're frustrating. It's the fact that I still feel like somebody like Nyla Rose has a shelf life because of once you take the believability out, which they killed the believability when she feuded with Riho. So once you take that out, you need to take her off TV, have her come back, and restart. It's the same with Nia Jax. Nia Jax needs a break from television to restart.
Well, they need to really like watch some old TNA and see how they treated Kong
Exactly.
because like that's how they should present them the way that Kong is presented.
Exactly.
Kong is
But
at her height.
but even Kong ended up hitting a wall, and TNA handled it perfectly by partnering up with um, Raisha Saeed.
Yeah, yeah, cheerleader Melissa.
Yeah, that's who it was, cheerleader Melissa. But
ABW.
yeah, I mean that. But that's the thing, and it's just like it's just the fact that they don't believe in shelf lives. And I mean, the one thing that AEW has to look at is as long as they do better than the Queen's Crown tournament, which the bar was set so low that they don't have to try that hard.
Hey, you know what? I was happy that Viper made it too. Piper Niven, whatever you want to call her, Dewdrop. I'm glad that she made it to the finals. She is an amazing wrestler, and I feel like she didn't get very much due. And like this was like pretty cool because she made it to the finals of a tournament on WWE main television.
Well, but you're giving the tournament matches 2, 3, 4 minutes.
Yeah, no, they really did. They really did treat it
It
like
was
it
a
was something.
joke.
It was a joke.
It's lazy booking.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
lazy booking.
like honestly, it felt like they were just playing names out of a hat.
You have Tony Storm and Zelina Vega go 2 minutes on SmackDown. Tony Storm was one of the top wrestlers on NXT, and she can't even. She made Zoe Starks. She made Zoe Starks.
Oh, Tony Storm is amazing. She's like, there's not a lot of women that are on her level, and they just made her look like nothing. You know, same thing with Dewdrop. I mean, she made it to the finals, but what did she really do to get there? You know, 2 minute matches. I would have loved to see Tony Storm versus Dewdrop because they're best friends. They have
Now,
really good chemistry.
your thoughts on the stupid stuff that we heard about from Charlotte and Becky on SmackDown last week?
I don't know. I just read about it. I didn't even see it. I read that Charlotte was very upset
Pretty much,
that
Panda.
she had to switch belts, so she just threw it on the ground. It was unscripted, and then Becky did the same, and then Charlotte threw a little fit backstage and was asked to leave the building.
Well, apparently the original plan was to make Charlotte would give Becky her belt. Becky would, pose with the belts, Becky two belts, and then Sonya
Yeah.
would step in and say, "No, you have to give Charlotte your belt."
I'm not a big fan of trading the belts.
I'm not a big fan of it either. Again,
It
it's
makes
lazy
the belts
booking.
look so like it's lazy booking. Yeah, Charlotte. Did you read that Charlotte was practically begging to drop the belt? To who? Who was it? It was somebody like you wouldn't expect.
If you want to make the draft, if you want to switch the talent and refresh their rivalries, make them drop the title before they move.
Yeah. Or I mean, if you want to make it look like a legitimate sport, say champions are not eligible to be drafted.
Exactly. Or vacate the titles. Oh wait, that would mean they would have to do a tournament, and Vince doesn't like tournaments.
Tournament. There was I can't remember who it was, but there was a lower level woman that like was good who didn't get her respect that Charlotte was begging to drop the belt to, and they said no, and that's why she did what she did apparently on SmackDown because she was mad because she couldn't drop the belt to who she wanted to drop it to instead of trade it off. She she wanted to drop the belt rather than trade it away. Like, isn't that stupid of her? Just kidding.
Well, it's like,
No, it's great. I think if that's what she really wanted, I think that's great.
well, I agree, Panda. It's stupid to trade the belts,
It is.
but it's a waste. And
It is a waste.
Charlotte, it is coming out that it seems like Charlotte's acting immature, and for somebody with the name that she has, her father would have never done that.
Well,
Her
I don't know.
father never would have done that. Even I don't care if she wants to go to AEW with Andrade. If she wants that desperate, then pull a Pac and sit out her contract. If she's that desperate to leave, pull a Pac and sit out your contract. And then come to an agreement with them that where you have to go to Impact or you have to go to Ring of Honor or you have to go to this company before you go to AEW and that you can't go to AEW specifically for a certain amount of time. And then just work with Andrade down in Mexico. Because Andrade's in AAA. You know, I understand you want to work with your husband. You want to work with the person you're in a relationship with. I understand that. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, there's a way to handle it.
But the thing is also too is, I mean, she feels like she has that stroke because of who she is and who her dad is, and like she's like a spoiled little, wrestling child that came into the business with a golden spoon in her mouth.
Yeah. Well, Flair will be back in the Ric Flair will be back in the conversation eventually. He just needs the fire to die down. I mean, if Hulk Hogan's welcomed back with open arms, even if people in the backstage area don't want him back, Flair will be welcomed back as well.
I mean, eventually he will be. Um, didn't he go somewhere else?
He showed up on the NW. He showed up with the NWA at their 70th anniversary, but that
That's
was
like
before
one
the
off.
Dark
He's
Side
not with
episode.
Triple H too. Yeah, I think those are just one offs. So.
But that was before the Dark Side episode.
I'm trying to find that thing. I can't find it. Where they're saying who Charlotte wanted to drop the belt to. But I think that they should just let her drop the belt. Like, she has enough stroke. If she's like, I want to drop the belt to this person, they should let her.
Yeah, I mean, if you're planning on switching the belt anyway, I mean, switching her brands anyway, what's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's stupid they switch champion. When they switch champions, it's really stupid.
In my
Like the
opinion,
first
now,
time, I don't remember what year it was, but the first time they did it, John Cena and Batista were the champions.
right,
And I remember Batista was the first pick and Cena was the last pick, something like that. They switched champions, but they took their belts with them though.
right, but that's the difference. That's why it shouldn't be the Raw Women's title and the SmackDown Women's title. It should be specific names,
Yeah, the
and that,
TBS title.
and that's why I still believe having two women's titles is stupid. Having two tag team titles are stupid.
I
One
don't know.
title,
I
one
feel like
title.
it could work. I feel like it could work because each show, Raw, SmackDown, they're not, but they should be on an island of their own.
Well, they don't care about the tag team division anyway. Why do they need two titles?
They don't.
They just keep it on the Usos for 87 years, which is understandable because of their status in the company, but
Let me ask you this: what do you think of Hit Row?
I like them.
I like Swerve. I like Swerve. He's cool. I like the girl. I forgot her name. Jade Cargill. No, that's somebody else.
Brianna Brandy. I know that's her. That's her. Maybe that's her real name, but
it's
I don't.
like it's like a money reference. I think.
Yeah,
B
but I
O it's
know.
B something. I don't know. She's cool. The guy that I cannot stand is oh my gosh, what's his
AJ.
name? Yeah, AJ. Top Dollar.
Hello,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
Top Dollar.
AJ. Yeah. Hey,
Because
cheeks.
he was on that show where
Hmm.
he was begging people for their memorabilia and lowballing people, and now he goes by the name Top Dollar. He should be going by the name Low Baller.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I would love to see the Hidden Treasure show come back for another season.
I mean, I liked it. I liked it, but at the same time, it was kind of embarrassing that he was like lowballing these people and begging for stuff.
Well, another question posed in the chat: would you agree that? Do you agree with the philosophy that a company should be built around one person, or should it be shared among a group like WWE used to do?
I mean, I think we should share it amongst the group as at all possible. The more big names you have, the more likely people are going to come to see the show, right? Because then you got people go, "Oh, I'm going to see the Undertaker. Oh, I'm going to go see, The Rock. I'm going to go see Stone Cold," as opposed to I'm going to go see John Cena. But the whole problem is WWE got scared of that, and they don't want you to go see any of those people. They want you to go see WWE.
Exactly, and that's
And
why they
so,
have Roman as the top star, which Drew McIntyre, admittedly, WWE did a wonderful job with Drew McIntyre. They did a wonderful job with Drew McIntyre.
it did.
Now, and Matt
There's
Riddle,
no fans there though.
Matt Riddle has been the highlight of the show for the better part of the year since he started teaming with Randy Orton.
Yeah, he's cool. I don't know. I don't like makeshift tag teams.
And what AJ's done with Almos, I mean, it's a perfect fit.
Yeah,
And
if you're looking to get almost over and teach him the ropes, there's not a better person for him to be with than AJ Styles.
I agree.
But what does it say for AJ Styles? Like he could be doing a lot better things. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I guess though, they're all main eventers. He's in there with Randy Orton and Matt
that's
Riddle on
true.
a daily basis. So
Well, that was the
he's
problem with Raw that all the main eventers were tied up in the tag team division.
yeah.
But
What
yeah,
about like I speak of makeshift tag teams, and I'm talking about like the Dirty Dogs. What the hell is the Dirty Dogs?
that's Bobby Roode and Ziggler,
But why?
two of the best workers on the company.
They're like this generation's beer money.
Exactly.
I hate them. I hate them. I hated beer money too.
Um, but yeah, good to see you, Cheeks. Hope you're doing well, buddy. And thoughts on Crown Jewel?
I
I,
don't know.
I think I remember your opinion of the Saudi Arabia relationship, but
Yeah, I mean, whatever, right? Nothing that we can say is gonna stop it. It's happening, so we just gotta bear it and
I
grin and
think from what I've heard and from other people's opinions that this was the best show that they've done out in Saudi Arabia thus far.
I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I've only watched like half of it, but that Hell in a Cell between Edge and Seth Rollins was something else. I did not think it could top their SummerSlam match, but it might have.
Yeah, but they finally did good in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, yeah. They should do the Greatest Royal Rumble again.
Yeah.
I love Royal Rumbles and Battle Royals and like cool shit like that.
Oh yeah. Panda's on a level of his own, Cheeks. um. Well, is I know me and you could talk about wrestling for hours on end,
Yeah.
and we've done it multiple times in the past. But I also know that there's a. I mean, I would say it's more something you took up right before the pandemic. Am I right? Or just as the pandemic?
Stand
Yeah, stand up.
I started doing stand up in 2010.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It was like my dream to do comedy, to do stand up comedy, and then my wife, who's currently my wife, she came back into my life, and she was doing comedy. I knew her in middle school, and she was doing comedy, and yeah, that's kind of when I started doing it in 2010, and then I stopped doing the podcast and comedy around the same time in like 2016, and then I got back into comedy in 2019. So in a sense, yes, like I started doing it before the pandemic because I did take a few years off. I did take a few years away from the scene, and then July of 2019, we got married on the 13th, and then we were back on stage on the 22nd of July, and so that's kind of when our brand, Hypothetical Comedy, that's kind of when our brand was born. Was July 2019.
Again, Chad, if you're just joining us, this is Funky Sam Medina. He's the one of the co-founders of Hypothetical Comedy and the founder of Pro Wrestling Nation podcast.
Ooh, I found it.
He's been
CEO, the
he
CFO, the COO.
he's been somebody I've called a friend for 7 years almost,
For the good times and the bad times.
which is insane to think that we basically met right as I was starting to get Wrestling Express off the ground.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was in my podcast. We were doing Wrestling Express. It was a good fit.
Yeah. Um, but because I knew you were you worked security for the comedy stores, right? or the
Yeah, I
comedy
do.
most?
I work security at a comedy club, one comedy club specifically here in my local area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that
and
how
I
you
love.
branched into comedy, or is that
No, so the way I got the security job, it's funny because I work at a car dealership, my day job, and I have a joke where I'm like, hey, the way that I got the job was I wanted to go buy a car 2 years ago, and when they found out I couldn't afford a car, they gave me a job instead, right? And so the way that I got the comedy job though, it's not as funny as I knew that the club had an open mic, and I didn't know how it works, and so I went to their website to go see how it worked. And I was like, now hiring, and I was like, oh snap! I just jumped on. I sent my resume, I wrote a cover letter, and I just sent it to them. And then like maybe about a month later, or so they called me, and I've been working there for 2 years now. We were closed for a year though. We were closed for a full year, but I've been there for over 2 years now since 2019.
right?
I
Well,
love it. I love it. I get to see headliners. I get it because I do security,
mm-hmm,
and so like it's my job to kind of monitor the audience, right? Make sure
mm-hmm,
people aren't talking, make sure people aren't taking pictures, make sure people are,
right,
generally acting stupid because they
right,
do
right, right,
sometimes. They do sometimes. Um, but I gotta pay attention to the show a little bit too. And so, like a couple of weeks ago, I got to see like somebody like Cedric the Entertainer 4 times in 2 days, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of
right.
people can.
Wow. Well, I'll ask you the same question that I asked about podcasting earlier. That since you have been a part of the comedy scene for better part of what 11 going on 11 years now,
Yeah,
in that hiatus from 2016 to 2019, or even how comedy was back then, outside of the obvious, has have you seen changes or have you seen anything that comes to note from how comedy was when you first got into the circuit
yeah.
to how it is now?
Like for me, for example, like so the hiatus I took from like 16 to 19, right? I wasn't doing comedy, I wasn't going on stages, but I never stopped writing, and I
Mm-hmm.
never stopped being a comedian. Like I to me in my head, I'm a comedian. I just wasn't going on stages. So like I always thought about it. I my wife and I we talked about it because we had a passion and a love for it, and so I feel like in 2019 when I went back on stage. Um, it was I was a lot better. And I didn't realize it at the time, but back in the before days, I didn't believe in myself. And the reason why I can tell now is because now I do. And there's a difference. I can feel a difference where I believe in myself and I know I can do it. I know I'm getting better and I know I'm a strong comedian. And then on top of that, we had a pandemic, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
was doing comedy on Zoom like this, in
Right.
front of my camera, going, hey, hey, ha, ha, here's my jokes. And I did that for over a year. And so that made me a way better comedian because my biggest problem in comedy was walking or pacing around and fidgeting with the mic stand, with the cord, with whatever was in my reach. I would just fidget with things and it would distract me or whatever. And so I spent a year doing comedy in front of in front of a little webcam. So I can't, if I move, you can't see me. And so I spent a year sitting in one place doing comedy. And so now when I'm back on the stages in the real life in front of real people, I stand in one place on the stage and I just lean in and I just tell my jokes. And that really helped me a lot with my comedy.
Right. Well, a question from the chat. Do you have favorite comedians?
My number one all time favorite comedian is Mitch Hedberg. I don't think I even wanted to be a comedian until I heard Mitch Hedberg, and then I was like, I got to do that. I got to do that. He's really funny, and I'm a one-liner comedian like him, and he's my biggest inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
I do have other favorites like watching Eddie Murphy as a kid. Dave Chappelle, he's really funny. I know he's controversial right now. A lot of people are mad at him, but he's really funny. Eddie Izzard, whatever you want to call. Very funny comedian, very funny. There's a lot of great comics. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of Gallagher. You're probably way too young to know what that is, but he had a watermelon and a sledgehammer, and the front row had a plastic sheet that they would hold up, and you do the math. He would just smash things with the sledgehammer. It was crazy. I loved it. It was great.
That boy Dave, I like him. Bill Burr and Jimmy
Bill
Carr
Burr's,
said
yeah, Bill
somebody in the
Burr's
chat.
really good. I'm just not into newer stuff. Like just because I'm old, I'm set in my ways.
Yeah.
So like anything past like 2005, I don't even know what it is. New music, I'm not unless it's like something I'm into. I'm not really into it. New comedy, I'm all into the old stuff because I'm an old dude.
Now, as a local in the California circuit, would you say California's on par with like Nashville for the music scene as far as like if you want to make it in comedy, that California is an ideal place to be to make it in comedy?
Yeah, I would actually. I wouldn't say about many places, but I mean, because LA is here, and that's where everyone wants to be. There's
Right,
two places when you're a comedian. There's two places you want to be in LA or New York.
right.
You know, I'm lucky enough that LA is a 6 hour drive from my house. So I mean, it's not close, but it's not super far.
It's not many people that would say I'm lucky to have LA 6 hours away.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So if I want to go do some gigs in LA, and as long as I plan them out and I can afford to stay out there for a few nights, then I can go out and do some stuff in LA. I don't have to fly,
Yeah,
I can drive, and so it's super cool. One thing that a lot of people don't really know that I am very grateful for is that my wife, her passion is comedy. Almost a comedy. Her passion is comedy too, and I've told people this a million times that I feel like if I had a partner that did not share the same passion as me, that it could be seen as an annoyance, a distraction, a takeaway. Like,
yeah,
oh, he's supposed to
detrimental. Yeah,
whatever, blah blah blah. But she is as passionate as I am, so we're constantly planning things. We're constantly, going to shows together. Like if I'm on a show, if she's on a show, whatever, we're both there.
right.
We go hang out at places. We go hang out with our comedy friends, and it's not to where she's like an outsider. She's, like our comedy friends are our comedy friends. They're not my friends. They're not her friends.
Right,
They're our friends. So like, that's one thing I'm grateful for is that I have a partner who's just as passionate about it as I am.
right. Well, I mean, I know there's probably the question of, since you are a security guard, is there any of those stories that, people were getting rambunctious or rowdy or crazy, as long as it's within TOS, that if you have any of those stories that come to mind? Because I know I've never asked you about that.
There's always like there's a fight in the women's restroom and whatever, or there's a fight in the parking lot. Uh, Things like that happen. I've been there, like I said, 2 years, but I've only been there actively for 1 year because we were closed down for a year for
Mm-hmm.
COVID. I've seen like three fights, so it's not crazy. One thing that happened was there's a comic, and it's probably not hard to find online because it kind of went viral. He got rushed on stage by somebody recently,
Mm-hmm.
and he knocked him out. He knocked out the dude, and so you know a lot of people, I guess, pulled their phones out and recorded the aftermath, not the actual punch. But it was a moment. It was a moment in time, and one thing that really so I was upstairs. And so my job is to watch the people, right? Like I said earlier, make sure people aren't talking loud, make sure they're not taking pictures, make sure they're not acting just generally
Right.
stupid, whatever. So I'm walking and I'm watching the people. I can listen to the show, but I'm watching the people mostly. And so I'm walking, and I just hear a commotion, and I look and I turn to the stage, and this comedian just hits this dude, and he just tumbles his stairs to go up to the stage. He just tumbles down the stairs, and yeah, and so the point I was getting to was it kind of caused an uproar. Everybody stood up. Um, the there was a weird vibe going because it was a big thing that kind of happened.
Right.
But the comedian just went right back to the show, and everybody just sat right back down. And I mean, he talked about it, but he continued as if it didn't even happen, and that was super cool. I hella respected that he just continued the show,
Right. Right.
the show, and then he talked about it for the rest of the weekend, whatever. But like, he just it happened. It was weird. He went back to telling jokes. Everyone went back to being happy, and it ended up being a good night minus that situation.
Well, I mean,
But
from the perspective of somebody who's a wrestling fan, you stay behind the rail. You don't come
right,
close to the
exactly,
stage.
exactly.
You don't hop the rail. You don't. If you do, you're taking your safety into your own hands, and they have
Yeah,
the right to do whatever the heck they want to you because you're not supposed to be there.
right, yeah.
That if they're
No,
gonna knock you out, they're gonna knock you out.
if you get punched, you get punched, and you shouldn't have been on the stage because that's not where you belong. You should have
Exactly.
been. That's not where you belong.
I have no like.
You're right though. That is such a wrestling thing because
Right,
there's so many times where fans hopped the rail and got punched
right.
or whatever, you know.
Like I still remember the guy who did it during the Hall of Fame ceremony a few years ago and got knocked
Oh, he got
silly.
beat up, man. The revival beat him up.
Yeah,
Harry beat him up. Like everybody's, you just see like him walking away. You see people just getting sheep
they
shots
got
in.
knocked silly, but he deserved it because he shouldn't have been there. I have
Yeah,
no love for those people that do that. It's the same people who hop the rail when they're at sports games. You're there
right.
to watch the game. You're there to watch the comic. You're
People
there
just
to
get
watch the
drunk and
show.
act stupid, you
That's
know.
it. You want to be on that side, train, be a part of it. Otherwise, because you're gonna get banned from the building. You're not gonna be allowed in the building anymore.
Right, right. And the thing is, on top of that, is, um, okay, for example, there's a guy who one of my most notorious people who jumped the rail. It was a ladder match. It was RVD and Eddie Guerrero. This
I
guy
know what
jumps
you're
the
talking about.
rail. He pushes RVD or he pushes Eddie off the ladder, and then like he gets punched a few times. But it's like they're not gonna like you. Like you look up to these guys and you want them to like you. They're gonna hate you. You know what I mean? Like wrestlers are gonna hate you for this.
Yeah, I mean it's like back in the day when the fan jumped in the ring and Macho Man went after him, and Randy Anderson. I remember watching Nitro and Randy Anderson put the guy in a guillotine choke.
Pee Wee.
Yeah, Randy Anderson put the guy in a guillotine choke until
Wow.
security came and took him away.
Wow. Oh, good old Pee Wee Anderson, man.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments was when he had to tell. He told Eric Bischoff, or Eric Bischoff fired him, and Eric Bischoff had to tell his kids that your daddy's still fired. That was great.
I don't know if you really want to get orange punched, Panda.
But yeah, no, you definitely don't jump the rail.
Exactly. It
Definitely
doesn't
don't jump
matter
the
where
rail.
you are. You don't jump the rail. You have no business on
Right.
that
A
side of the rail.
comedy show, a sporting event, wrestling,
You have no business on that side.
a concert, like
Yeah, you
yeah,
don't rush the stage. It's
yeah,
you're not on. You're not the one that people are there to see. Get over
right,
yourself. Drop the ego and stay where you're supposed to be.
yeah. Good times though.
I mean, I can imagine. I can imagine. But speaking of that, if there's a commotion in the parking lot, is that up to you as the guard of the building, if they're still on your premises, to go out and take care of it, or do you call the police?
Both, both. We call the police and then we try to intervene as much as possible without, also.
Because then that's
Right.
because technically then that would be a public disturbance, right? Not necessarily the building's
I'm not
responsibility.
sure. I'm not sure what our parking lot is considered. I mean, I feel like our parking lot is private property. If it was on the sidewalk, it would be public.
Right,
But I feel like our parking lot is still our parking lot. I don't know. I don't know.
right.
I don't know either
Um,
legal stuff about behind it.
I mean, I know. I mean, I've been told multiple times that people have told me that I should do stand up, and I told them, no, I'm too lazy. I'd be a sit down comic.
Nice.
I put a stool on stage and sit down because I'm too lazy to stand up all the time.
There's a still there already. You have to make your own. One time
um,
somebody told me to put a stool on stage and I just went on stage and took a shit.
but it's just the idea that I know I've heard so many people like Bob Saget and that guy from Whose Line, the guy with the glasses that not Colin or Ryan Stiles, the one of the other guys, but
Wayne Brady? Not Wayne Brady.
no, the other guy.
Drew Carey? The host?
Well, I mean, Drew Carey's probably said it, but the point is, a number of comics have said, "How old are you when you knew you were going to be a comic?"
Right. I
I've
mean,
never.
dude, you're 27. I started when I was 29.
Well, but it's just like I don't have that. I'd rather entertain the few, like entertain my core group of people,
Yeah.
because it's also to a point. My form of comedy is not really acceptable nowadays anymore because I more like George Carlin's comedy of shock comedy
Hmm.
as opposed to like I would gravitate more towards the 7 words you can't say on television than making a dad joke in front of 15 people.
Yeah. I'm more of a, I do like one liners. Like, I'm pretty clean. I'm not really a dirty comic.
I mean, I could be both, but I'd rather entertain my fans here on Twitch
Yeah.
as opposed to sit up and I mean, but in that situation, is there from somebody who's been on the circuit for as long as you've been on the circuit, is there any advice to people new to the circuit that you would give, or anybody that are hesitating on going to an open mic night and giving it a try?
So the best. So I wanted to do comedy. I didn't do it because I was too scared for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And the advice that I got before I did it that made me say I'm just gonna do it was just do it. And if you mess up, you have 1,000 more chances. And that's what I was told and by a comic, and I took it. So I did it. My advice to a new comedian is uh, you're gonna want to quit a million times. Every like you're gonna do so badly sometimes that you're gonna get off stage and you say, "I never want to do this again." Just don't quit.
I mean, that is valid advice. I mean, it's like,
Although quitting was one of the best things I could have done for myself. I
right,
feel like it made me a lot better. In fact, I read an article not too long ago from Patton Oswald where he gave you 10 tips to improving your comedy, and one of them was quit. He said, "Quit comedy, take a break, don't do it for a few years, reflect on it, you know, rework the process, and try again." And I kind of that's what I did, and
right.
I didn't know that that was advice at the time. I just kind of did it, but it quitting I feel like quitting was the best thing I did because like I said, I didn't know it before, but the way I feel about myself now, I
Right,
believe in myself and I didn't feel it before.
right, right. Exactly. And, I've said the same thing to people, with streaming that, you're going to go time where nobody's going to be watching. And I'm sure you've
Oh yeah.
like you did your streaming more for a purpose. Because I know you used to stream game
I
night.
was streaming yeah, and comedy shows. I was
Yeah,
doing comedy shows on my Twitch.
right. Um but that's the thing, and it's like you stream for a purpose. It's not to have 15 people in your Twitch chat talking to you and being there and yada yada yada. It's you're
I want to do
streaming
that.
for a
I
purpose.
want to do that. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like the underlying thing is you're here for a purpose. You're doing this for a reason. You're not doing this just for that. If you're doing this just for that, it's empty.
Yeah. Right.
Like you're doing comedy because it makes you feel good because you're making other people feel good. And but that's a purpose. You're not there because you want to go sell out you don't want to go sell out the Cow Palace in front you know
I mean, eventually I do.
well, but that's the point. You want to do it eventually. That's not the only reason why you're doing comedy.
No, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it just for the feeling that I get when I'm on stage and when I'm
Well,
talking to people.
but that's my point. Like your goal to do it is not to sell out an arena or to be the headliner. Because if it is, you'll never get there.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have other reasons why you're doing it. Like with streaming, it can't just be you want 15, 20 people watching you every stream. It has to be that you're doing it for other reasons. Same with comedy, that you have to be doing it for other reasons.
I mean, same with anything, right?
Right.
You can't start wrestling to be the WWE champion. You have to start wrestling because you have a passion for it and you want to do it.
Exactly. And somebody in the chat pointed out Cow Palace. I haven't heard that name in a while.
I've been there many times.
Well, I wanted to pick a local one, and I didn't I didn't know if the LA Sports Arena was still in.
I don't know if the Cow Palace does comedy shows, but that's my new goal in life now is to sell up the Cow Palace.
It's the first
Well, let me
arena.
tell you. Let me tell you the story, okay? My best friend and I that used to watch wrestling all the time. We went to No Way Out 2004,
Hmm.
the one where Eddie Guerrero won the WWF title from
Right.
Rock. And I just
Still
was a
gives me
WWE.
goosebumps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we were at the Cow Palace. It was at the Cow Palace,
Right.
and we pull in, and you see this. There's one line going into the building, okay, and it's just like snaked all like this way and that way and this way and that way, and we were just so like, and before we even got out of the car, we were so annoying. So we get in this long line and we wait forever, and then So then you enter the building, you enter the front door where they're checking your tickets, one single file line, and then there's like five lines to get into the actual arena part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just so convoluted. Everything is just
Right.
crazy. And my friend and I, and the show's already started at this point. The dark matches, whatever. My friend and I start going, Cal Palace sucks. Cal Palace sucks. Cal Palace sucks. And before you know it, it catches on, and everybody was doing it, and they were just letting us in. Like they weren't even like trying anymore. They were just okay, go in, just go, just do it, and they just let us in all fast at that point. But we were all going, Cal Palace sucks. Cal Palace sucks. It was so fun. It was so fun.
Well, now I know. Well, first, Chad, if you're just joining us or if you have been here and you've been lurking and not really paying attention, again, this is Sam Medina. He's the co-founder of Hypothetical Comedy, which, if you want to get access to that, it is exclamation point comedy in the chat. It will stick around after this, after this episode as a command. And as you see above his head, all his socials are right below, are right there. Um, he's a also a comic local in the California scene, and the founder of the Pro Wrestling Nation podcast. Chad says hello.
Hello, Chad.
But what I was going to say is now, since you've been to the Cow Palace, I know that the Cow Palace has been probably up and running since maybe the 60s, I would say at least.
Yeah, I mean probably even further than that, but yeah.
Is it one of those arenas that need an upgrade, or is it not as dated as you would figure for an arena that was built back then?
No, it sucks. No, it's cool. I mean, the arena part of it is cool, but like the entrance isn't very. Like I said, they had one line going into five entrances, and
It's not very conducive to current.
to current crowds, to big
Right,
crowds.
right,
I think they could uh, do a reimagining of. But yeah, I've been there since 2004, and so it's going on 20 years.
right,
But I think they could reimagine the entry system or something. I don't know.
right.
I don't even know. Do they still? I guess they still do stuff there. They have like monster truck stuff and
Yeah,
all.
I know WWE was there a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Because I
Like I said, I
remember,
would love to see like a concert or something there.
well, I
Uh,
remember our friend the ambulance chaser went to
I did see a concert there.
I think our friend the ambulance chaser went to a show there a few years ago.
That's cool.
I wonder if old Gator was with him.
Cal Palace sucks. No, that's cool.
um,
Oh, so oh, never mind. That's a different place. I'm tripping.
well, just to clarify for the chat, our friend, by me saying the ambulance chaser, our friend is a lawyer,
Oh,
and
you talking about Dave, right?
yeah,
Okay, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch it the first time. I always call him an ambulance chaser. I
I
always
know.
when I was on his podcast, I used to be like, "Oh yeah, you chasing any ambulance and whatever." He goes, "I'm not that kind of lawyer." He always tells me that. Yeah, because he's like he's not a injury lawyer. That's not what he does. But I always call him an ambulance chaser because he's a lawyer.
So shout out to Dave and old
Shout
Gator
out to the
from
Attitude of Aggression
yeah
podcast.
from the Attitude of Aggression
I
podcast.
haven't listened to his podcast in a long time. Is he still?
Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna contact him, but I wasn't sure if
I
him and
said hi
Gator
to him.
still
I hit
do
him
it.
up the other day to say hi not too long ago, actually.
Yeah, and apparently my chat did the research. The Cow Palace used to hold the California Seals and the San Jose Sharks from the NHL, and
The Sharks?
it's existed from the mid '60s.
Wait, since the mid '60s. What was the time frame on the Sharks? Like 91, 92?
Blaze,
Whoever
do you
whoever
still have
researched that, what were the years in the San Jose Sharks? Because
Blaze?
that must have been.
Do you have the clarity for the Sharks?
I think the Sharks have been in the San Jose arena since like '93 or '94.
Yeah, it was probably where they started when
Yeah,
they
it's probably where
first.
they played while they were building the arena.
Right,
Yeah, because I'm from San Jose. That's where I'm from.
right.
That's my spot. So
No,
yeah, I did not know that that's where the Sharks played. Actually,
I didn't either.
I think that might be where the Warriors played. No, it can't be.
I will point out though that I was right. Early '60s.
Yeah, no, you're right. I was thinking about cows and stuff, like before they had cars even. I don't know.
But that was the main venue for the San Francisco territory to circle back.
It was, and then
Yeah, 91 to 93. You were right, sir.
okay, I figured that because yeah, because I think they started playing in
Yeah, then they moved to the San Jose the SAP Center in 93. Probably for the
uh,
93-94 season, I would say.
the Shark Tank. I remember. You know what? So I'm listening to old podcasts. I'm listening to like when Howard Finkel died, and my favorite Howard Finkel memory is when he would go, "Hello, Shark Tank," when he was in town
I
because
mean,
of the Shark Tank.
but just to bring it full circle, I had no idea that it had been 5 years since my last podcast.
That's
Well,
a long.
technically 4 years, because
Grown facial hair since then.
season two of the podcast was going in 4 years ago, so that's 2017. But season one, which you were the first guest
That
on
was in
it,
2016. That was 5 years
was
ago.
2016. Yeah.
I remember where I was. I lived here in 2017, so I was back home. I was back in San Jose. Oh, interesting.
I mean, I know I could make a make this existential, but we'll go that route. Looking back to how things were 5 years ago compared to how things are now, what do you what are your thoughts?
Well, when I started doing the podcast in 2013, and I did it till about 2016, that time frame, like on paper, I guess it was a lot more fun to be a wrestling fan. I feel like CM Punk was doing his thing, and the Shield was around, and Daniel Bryan was on the incline, and it was just a fun time. And I feel like now, uh, it's a little bit more like, I mean, AEW is making it a lot more fun, I guess, but right now it's a little more stale, to be a wrestling fan, and so I just feel like it's not as big as big as it was then. I don't know.
Well, I would say it's more aggressive now because there's the running meme of the last wrestling Twitter argument or something like that, and it's like, get over it. Just be fans and accept the fact that we're all enjoying the same general, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
axiom.
There's a lot of though. I see a lot of on Facebook like anti WWE or anti
Yeah,
AEW, doing a lot of like
yeah.
just different stuff. I have you know what I have so many wrestling fans that I don't know on Facebook blocked because I'll see a post and I'll say I never want to see this person's opinion again, and I'll just block them.
Right. And it's just like, oh yeah, but Dean Ambrose was good, but by the time you could by the end of his run, you could see that he just wasn't in it anymore.
Yeah,
Compared
I
to
mean
what he was
he looks like a drunk uncle now.
compared to what he was back in the day, I mean, it seems like he's having a lot more fun in AEW.
They all are. They all are. Daniel, like Brian Danielson, like he just exudes like is just the joy that he didn't exude before. CM Punk said, "I left wrestling in 2005, and now I'm back in wrestling."
I mean,
You
it's
know,
it's insane to think that I've been watching Daniel Bryan or Brian Danielson for 12 years.
right?
It's insane that I've been watching Seth Rollins for 12 years. It's insane that I used to watch Adam Cole when he was in CZW.
The very first podcast, one of my friends had a podcast and he had me on as a guest host a couple of times. And one of the very first times I did it, we interviewed Adam Cole, and that was like so much fun.
I have an interview with
That's
Adam
like
Cole
why I
too.
wanted to podcast.
Yeah, I have an interview with Adam Cole too on my old blogger, on my old blog.
Nice.
So I don't have to worry about the audio on that. uh, but I haven't forgotten outros. Anything you got coming up? Anything you want to hype up? Anything you want to build up? Anything you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Not really. Not really. Just follow me on Instagram, Hypothetical Comedy on Instagram at Hypothetical Comedy. My podcast is at PWM Podcast on Twitter. I'm on hiatus right now because of my computer issues. Hopefully I get those resolved soon. And yeah, that's about it. I don't really have anything coming up. That
Well,
I'm
what
super.
about your podcast network? Is that's still in the
Oh,
works?
so that's all. So it's Hypothetical Comedy Podcast Network, and it's all through hypotheticalcomedy.com. So if
Hmm.
you go there, there'll be links to all the podcasts. Like pretty much everything we're doing is on hypotheticalcomedy.com, and I'm gonna you know, get it up to date and all that cool stuff too.
And chat, if you're curious, I will be adding a link. I don't know if I'm going to do a command. That command, one of the commands will probably dissipate, but I'll probably add that as a command for the chat too if you guys are curious
Yeah,
to
check it
check it
out,
out.
hypotheticalcomedy.com. Boom. And then whenever we do shows and stuff, even online shows, I'm gonna put a ticket link up on that website. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna be able to just point people to that direction. Hey, go buy tickets at hypotheticalcomedy.com. We've been doing some online shows, and we're thinking about doing some online showcases again. So I think that'd be super cool too.
Right. But again, chat, this is not one of those cases where I'm going to start playing something else and, shift off the podcast from the stream or go into a game stream. We're going to be back later tonight with Apex and Rogue Company for a normal stream. This is going to be its own individual thing, as far as
Yeah,
that's
Chad.
concerned.
Yeah, Chad. Just kidding.
And next week, as long as everything goes off without a hitch, next week I will be back. You guys will be getting another episode with a legendary wrestling referee who's been in the business since 1982 and worked with the likes of Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Kane, The Rock, Mick Foley. He was there when The Undertaker made his debut. He was in he worked for the company when Undertaker made his debut down in Texas.
Oh,
Same with
nice.
Mick Foley. He worked with Mick Foley all through his career. I think he might have been in Memphis when Sting was there, or he was aware of Sting, at least. He worked with the Warrior when the Warrior got his first big break because Warrior worked in Texas as the Dingo Warrior before he got. But I'm looking forward to that because I've been able to call James Beard a friend for the last 7 years, just like I've been able to call this man a friend for the last 7 years. Oh.
James Beard knows more stars than I do, though.
I don't know about that. He may know more wrestlers, but you probably know more comedians. But this chat has been Mr. Funky Sam Medina again, co-founder of the Hypothetical Comedy Network and Hypothetical Comedy, and the founder of Pro Wrestling Nation podcast. Thank you for being here for the first
Yeah.
episode of this test run of me bringing back Express Talk.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you for having me. It was super fun. Super fun.
Of course, buddy. Say goodbye to Sam, Chad.
Bye, Chad. And Blaze one up, Blaze.
I can't tell who Sam's favorite is.
Obviously, the one named Blaze. Sorry, Chad.
Well, chat, we're gonna launch a raid now, and I think Mr. Shark is still streaming. So we're gonna send you guys over to Lone Shark. Once again, guys, we will be back later tonight with Rogue and Apex, and I will see you guys then. Much love, and I appreciate so very much everybody that came out and showed support for the show for the first test run of the podcast tonight. I do appreciate it. And like I said, we will be back next week, hopefully with another podcast episode, as long as everything goes well with Mr. James Beard and him having the time. But like I said, we'll be back later. Peace for now, chat, and go enjoy Shark playing Night of the Dead or something to that effect. I think, yeah, Night of the Dead. So again, I appreciate it, chat. I'm very much thank you for everybody showing up, and I will see you guys later tonight. And remember, chat. Leave meeting. And remember, chat. You got to be a part of 250 channel points. You got to be follow along the raid for 250 channel points. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace. Enjoy Shark.